Okay, bear with me, folks. We'll just let a couple people join in. We'll get started here in a second. Okay, let's just get started. Thank you very much for joining us today. Today we're going to talk about basically just the introduction to government contracting. So we'll kind of talk to you a little bit about some terms and things like that. But first, a bit about who we are. So oops, National Apex Day. That actually happened back in September. But what I really want to tell you is there are 96 Apex accelerators across the United States. 7 within the state of California. We're funded through the Department of Defense. Locally, we're administered by the Monterey County Business Council. And Apex Accelerators, they used to be called PTACs, have been mandated by Congress since 1985. So we've been around for a long time. We're not going anywhere. We're here to help you out. Our mission is basically to promote economic growth and employment opportunities in the local markets that we serve. And we do that by facilitating your access to the government marketplace. And then, although we're federally funded, that's marketplace being federal, state, or local. Here's a graphic of the various Apex accelerators in the state of California. We're this teal area in the middle of the state. So we're the Central Coast, Central Valley. If you're on this webinar and you're from one of these other counties, you can either reach out to us and we can kind of share the information of our colleagues at one of the other Apex accelerators. They all have excellent teams of counselors that can help you with your needs. So these are the basic services that all Apex accelerators provide. First and foremost, it's confidential services to you. So anything that you tell us stays with us. We don't share it. And we do that primarily through just one-on-one counseling. Either most of the counseling we do is going to just be on the phone or virtual meetings with you. There's really not a reason for you to come to our office because it's just a much more efficient way to serve you. Just looking at the size of our service area, it doesn't really make much sense for you to drive 3 hours to have a meeting with us when we can do it so from the convenience of our office and your office rather than in person. We love to meet you in person, and down below here there's outreach events, and oftentimes that is the opportunity that we can meet you in person. But we provide pre-award assistance, kind of like what we are going to talk about today, help you understand the government marketplace a little bit more, teach you how to find opportunities that are out there for you, help you review those documents that you'll see when you see these opportunities, and then help you with a document that's called a capability statement. Real briefly, just a capability statement is a one-piece marketing piece on your company that tells the reader, the viewer of it, basically who you are, what you do, what's your past performance history, etc. And then a post-award assistance, we help you with it's inevitable. If you're in business, there's going to be some kind of conflict. We can kind of coach you from our experience of how to maybe handle something. Debriefs is an important topic in the sense that if you submit an offer on anything, you can always ask for a debrief and basically ask the contracting team, hey, how could I have done better? Was my price too high? Was it too low? Those types of things. And then finally, protest. Sometimes people definitely feel that the way the contract was awarded to a competitor, they feel it warrants filing a protest. We can kind of talk to you about that. Protests are something, though, that if God dang it. Come on. Okay, we're still here. Thank God. Accidentally just moved my computer and turned off my screen. Apologize for that. But protests, you want to hire legal counsel that has experience in filing protests to really kind of walk you through the process and tell you really whether you have a chance of being successful in a protest. Again, as I mentioned, there are outreach events that happen throughout the Central Valley. We try to be at most of them. There's one, as an example, on the 25th of this month up in Tracy. So we'll be there in person. And then trainings, webinars at these outreach events. Oftentimes we're asked, and we'll provide training there, and we'll continue this format of doing trainings in this webinars. Bid matching is a service that all Apex accelerators provide. Basically what it is we use third-party vendors who have a system that will go out and search thousands of websites where public agencies post their contracting opportunities. We work with you, set up a profile for your business, upload it into their system. So then it goes out, searches websites on a daily basis. Anything that matches your profile with the opportunities, and then are just emailed directly to you. It's a great way to save you a tremendous amount of time, and oftentimes you'll learn about opportunities from agencies that you never even thought of approaching. Certification programs. So we help you navigate certification programs. You know, we had a meeting yesterday. We talked to a client about the 8A program, whether it makes sense for them or not. What are the qualifications that are required? So a lot of the documentation that's required in these certifications, so we can help you with that. One of the great things is that there's no fees or commitments to you, so where your tax dollars at work. So take advantage of that. Right now, I'd like to just kind of talk a little bit about the Central California SBDC network. The SBDC that stands for Small Business Development Centers. They're operated, they're funded basically by the SBA. And what they do is they provide small business assistance to you, like us, at no cost. Oftentimes when we talk to a company, maybe they're just brand new, starting out, we'll definitely recommend working with an SBDC. They have a lot of individuals that are part of their teams that can help you out with human resource issues, marketing, developing a business plan, a lot of excellent services that can really help you grow your business. So take advantage of that. So now let's jump into today's program. So here's our agenda today. We're going to talk just a little bit about the common process that people go through. Then a little bit about some procurement terms that be important to you. Talk about set-aside programs, and then different markets, federal, state. Talk about subcontracting, why it's important for you to consider that, and then marketing intelligence, and then promotion. So common process. So basically, when you're wanting to do business with government, and any government, whether it's your town, city, county, state, federal, you want to do your market research first. You know, you want to go out and find out who buys what you sell, what quantities they buy it, how often do they buy it, those types of things. And again, we can help you in showing you different ways you can go out and conduct your market research to identify who buys what it is you sell. In government, these product service codes are important to know. So there's different coding systems used by different government agencies. The federal government uses these NAICS codes, North American Industrial Classification System. The state of California uses the UNSPSC codes, which stands for United Nations Special Products and Service Codes. And then the NIGP is a coding system that a lot of the cities and counties use. So they're all similar. Basically, they're codes that are assigned to all different kinds of business categories. You might be familiar with what used to be called, what are still called SIC codes, standard industrialization codes, but those basically have been replaced by these coding systems. And we can help you again identify which by talking to you and understanding your business, say this is the appropriate code for your company. And it's not uncommon too that with these codes that you'll have several of them. Registration. So again, you'll want to register on various websites in order to be able to sell to a government entity. Then once you've done all this, then you want to go out and again, then start finding RFQs, RFPs, finding those business opportunities that are out there. Then the next step, you'll be preparing an offer. You'll submit that offer. And then again, ideally, I mentioned it earlier, you want to ask for a debrief. Even if you win an award, you want to ask, hey, how could I presented myself better, you know, those types of things. So let's just kind of go into this a little bit deeper. So here's some procurement terms. And these are these terms are used that you see on the screen are in the federal marketplace. And sometimes one of the things about terminology is that different government agencies will use different terms. A good example of it is the federal government will call an opportunity a solicitation, whereas the state of California calls that opportunity, they'll call it an event. Don't ask me why, it is what it is. So, but well, these terms are important. Full and open competition. What does that mean? It means that any business of any size can submit an offer on that opportunity. So somebody who's a multi-billion-dollar company and someone that's a brand new startup can submit an offer on that. In that process, you have two different ways in which you're responding to an opportunity. The first one is a request for proposal, an RFP. Typically in a request for proposal, in addition to providing pricing, you're also describing sort of how you're going to deliver on what it is the government wants you to deliver to them. And the process that you use, the solution that you're proposing is oftentimes more important than your price. Request for quote. Basically, that's when it's an item and it's a common item that's out there. Basically, they just want to know, okay, what's the price, and they're going to pick the lowest price. One thing to note about RFQs and lowest price is there is another term that's called lowest price technically acceptable. So again, the misperception is oftentimes the lowest price always wins the contract. That's not always the case. So keep that in mind. It has to be technically acceptable. And then this request for information, RFI. And then I put underneath it there, it says also known as sources sought notice. The federal government calls them sources sought notices. And basically in this RFI process is that the contracting community is trying to gather their own market research to say who is interested in submitting an offer on this, especially in the federal marketplace. They want to find out who is interested in this opportunity, who has the capability to deliver on it. And then with the responses they receive, it kind of goes to this next bullet point, set aside. They'll set aside the contract for various socioeconomic programs. So they may say, once they go through this sources sought process, they'll say, we received, several interested parties who qualify as service disabled veteran-owned businesses. Let's set aside this opportunity so that only service disabled veteran-owned businesses can submit an offer on it. Let's see. So talk a little. So I introduced that topic. So let's go a little deeper into it. So again, so with federal set aside programs, again, what the government is doing is they're basically saying only members of this socioeconomic group can submit an offer on this. So it's not full and open. They've set it aside for one of these groups that you see on the screen. The most common that you see is that they'll set aside an opportunity, then they'll say only small businesses can submit an offer on this opportunity. when you look at NAICS codes, and we can help you with this, is that with all the NAICS codes, they've been assigned a what's called a small business size standard, which is oftentimes a lot larger than you think. So most of our clients do qualify as small businesses. But again, we can, if you don't know if you qualify as a small business or not, we can research that for you and tell you whether you're a small business, but it's pretty large. As an example, if you're a general contractor in construction, if you do less than $45 million, you're still considered a small business. That may seem like a very high number, but then when you compare 45 million against these $1 billion a year construction companies that build these mega projects, then 45 million becomes small. Likewise, with a lot of other companies, depending on the industry, if you have 500 employees or less, you're still considered small. So it's a pretty big number. Some of these others, these are set-asides. 8A is a small disadvantaged business that applies to minorities and women. And then there's the woman-owned small business, HUBZone business, veteran-owned small business, and then there's a service-disabled veteran-owned small business. And there's some like subcategories to woman-owned business as well, but we don't need to go into that at this stage. One thing that I wanted to share too, and I'm talking a little bit about this later, is that it's important that you to know that oftentimes the easiest way for you to start working in the government marketplace is for you to be a subcontractor to another company. What I've shown you here is that under this FAR, Federal Acquisition Regulation 19.702, is that there's these two thresholds. If it's a contract that is over 750,000 and it goes to a large company, then that company needs to submit a subcontracting plan that says, I'm going to do X amount of dollars with 8A companies, women-owned, veteran-owned, etc. If it's a construction project, then it becomes $1.5 million in construction. If you're a small business and you're the prime contractor, then this doesn't apply to you. It's only if you're a large business and awarded these contracts. We'll talk a little bit more about subcontracting too, a little bit towards the end of the presentation. Just to kind of give you an idea, with the federal government, back in 2022, they spent over $500 billion. And then with the small businesses, they spent $158 billion, or 23% of that 500 billion. You can see these small business goals for subcontracting. Again, you can see that these are like the goals that are given to the prime contractors I just mentioned. 13% needs to go to a small business, 5% to an 8A, 5% to women-owned, 3% to service-disabled veterans, and 3% to HUBZone. So again, I just want to emphasize that for you, and it's one of the things that I always tell people, you need to understand where you are in the supply chain. It could be that the type of business you have, you would never ever sell directly to the federal government. You would always be a subcontractor to somebody else, which is fine because, again, you're still generating cash revenue for your business. So let's talk a little bit just about the federal government. In order to sell directly to the federal government, you need to get registered with them. So the process is, first you create an account in what's called login.gov. Creating that login.gov account then actually allows you to register in some other different systems. If you're applying for any of these certifications, such as veteran-owned or woman-owned, you use your login.gov credentials to access the application, etc. Then this next one, the SAM SAM stands for System for Award Management, and that's the system that you need to register in for you to sell directly to the federal government. Again, if you're a subcontractor, you don't have to do that. We are seeing a trend as a way to document who they are using as subcontractors, that some prime contractors are asking their subcontractors to register in SAM as well. So if that's the case, then if your client wants you to do it, then go ahead and do it. One thing I would suggest though to you is that if you're not registered in SAM, do not try to do this on your own. It's a confusing website. It's easy to make mistakes when you're doing it. Once you make a mistake, it's a big hassle to correct it. It's much easier if you just set up a time with us. We'll set up a Zoom meeting. We can see your computer screen and we can kind of walk you through and make sure you're entering the information correctly and not accidentally misunderstanding a question and clicking the wrong button on their application. Again, you'll need to know what your NAICS code is, North American Industrial Classification System code. You can find these on this census.gov website. Again, sometimes it's just easier if you ask us after we talk to you for us to help you identify what your codes are, or at least the basic one, and then show you how the census.gov works. Basically, with census.gov, you put in keywords or actual codes themselves, but it's sometimes easier for us to just kind of tell you what probably is the best codes to use. Same thing goes for these product service codes. Depending on what it is that you sell, you want to know what those codes are. And then, of course, determine your socioeconomic status at SBA.gov. And that's basically determining whether or not, again, you qualify as a woman-owned business. One of these others that are there, HUBZone, 8A, those types of things. One thing, too, that I'll tell you is that it's great if you're, say, a woman-owned business and you can get certified, or a veteran, etc. But what you want to do is go into SAM.gov. In SAM.gov, not only do you register to sell to the government, SAM.gov is where you actually go and look for contract opportunities. That's another presentation that I do. But you want to see whether or not the government is actually setting aside opportunities for the socioeconomic status that you might have. So if you don't see that the government is setting aside opportunities for your industry, for, say, a woman-owned small business, the likelihood of it happening in the future is not. So it's not worth you spending all the time and effort in getting certified. The government is more, they care more about your past performance, who you sold products and services to in the past, rather than your socioeconomic status. If it is an area where they do set aside a lot of contracts, then definitely we can help you in that process. So these are the certifications through SBA. The first one, 8A, and there's an asterisk there. It's a little different. All the others below it, you can be certified as one of these others for actually, 50 years, the length of the entire time of your business. The only thing that would limit you, and it's actually a good goal to have, is that if you then grew so much that were no longer considered a small business. With all these certifications, first and foremost, you need to be a small business. The 8A that a lot of people hear about is actually a program where it lasts 9 years. Once you get into the program, you're in it for 9 years. The idea of the program is that you get into it because the government sets aside opportunities for 8A firms. It really reduces the competition in the marketplace. And then through being awarded contracts, you grow your business. So at the end of those 9 years, you then move on and have no problem just growing your business. There's more to it than that, but again, it's a 9-year program. These others, woman-owned small business, Again, you can be in it for 50 years as long as you don't exceed that small business side centers. This next one, economically disadvantaged woman-owned small business. It just means that you're a smaller business. They basically look at the revenues of the business, the personal net worth of the business owner to determine whether you're economically disadvantaged or not. HUBZone is a little bit different as well. Basically, HUBZone is where the business needs to be small, needs to be located physically in a HUBZone, and then 35% of the employees also need to live in a HUBZone in order to qualify for that. These last two, veteran-owned small business and service-disabled veteran-owned small businesses, basically it's the same as these others. You know, you just need to prove that you were a veteran and are small, and then you can become certified by them. And then, you know, to get certified through the SBA, just go to this website, sba.gov, federal contracting, and there you can just kind of pick the one. And you could, you know, one company actually could qualify for basically all these. You could be in it, say you're a minority woman-owned business. You could be in the 8A program and a former veteran and a veteran. So you could be in the 8A program, certified as a woman-owned business, and then certified as a veteran-owned business. And if your business happens to be located in a HUBZone and you qualify, you could actually have all of these. Again, though, having all these does not guarantee you any contracts. Your past performance is really what helps you to win contract awards. So with California, switch gears a little bit. In California, there's only 2 set-asides that are available, or actually, I guess you could see here it's 3, and even there's other subcategories here. But in California, if you're a woman-owned business or minority-owned business, and there's some variances to this, and we'll get to that here in a second, but basically they have a micro business and a small business. Basically what you do is you submit your tax returns, and they'll determine whether you're a micro business or a small business, and that can be anybody that does that. The other one is a disabled business, veteran business enterprise. So if you're a disabled veteran, then you can get certified, and they have they do 2 things. Some contracts are set aside for only disabled veteran business enterprises, but then also in other contract opportunities, they will indicate in the event notification that a certain percentage of the work needs to be subcontracted to a disabled veteran business enterprise. So there's advantage to that. And then again, we recommend, if you're wanting to sell to the state of California, and there's a lot of opportunities with the state, is to make sure not only you register with them, but that you get these certifications. This is their website where you accomplish this. It's called Cal eProcure. There's the website there, URL at the top. What the first thing you want to do is right here where it says sell to the state. This is where you register your business with the state. This is where also you will enter. I mentioned earlier these codes. This is where you'll enter those UNSPSC codes. And there's a link once you go in here, so you can go there and then identify the codes you want to enter onto your profile. Once you do that, their system will automatically, like our bid match system, will send you opportunities that match the profile that you set up for yourself in here. One thing too is you can always go back and edit it. So you can always go back and, you know, add more codes or add more keywords. They give you an opportunity to put in keywords, but they require codes. But they say that the keywords really helps to generate more of the opportunities that will be emailed to you. And then again, as I just mentioned, you want to go here secondly and then get certified. So here was just where the online application where you start entering your company's information and then upload your tax returns to determine whether you're small or micro business. And then same thing with Disabled Veteran Business Enterprise, the DVBE. One thing to note with the state and their DVBE certification, the discharge papers of the veteran needs to show at least 10% of a disability rating for you to qualify. With the federal government, you don't need to show that high of a disability rating. But with the state, it's 10%. And then you want to look in here, it says find information. There's information in here, and this bottom right quadrant here, if you click on this, there's some really good resources in here. One of the really good resources that's in here is there's actually a directory of what are called small business advocates that the state has. That it's a Excel spreadsheet that has information of contact information of all the the state agencies. So you can contact a person, they've got their name, their phone number, their email address to say, hey, I'm interested in selling to your agency. And one thing too, when you look at it too, it might kind of surprise you how many agencies there are, and there could be many that you never even thought of approaching by just seeing that list of advocates. So let's talk just a little bit about this DVBE, this Disabled Veteran Business Enterprise. I mentioned earlier, you have to be at least 10% disability rating on your discharge papers. But the goal for the state is to award 3% of all their contracts to certified DVBE firms. So again, this link here takes you right to where you go to register or get registered, or basically it should say to start that certification process. One thing too I'll mention is that in some of these, say it's a small business set aside, if you're DVBE, they'll actually give you, like, if your price is within, I believe it's 7% of a lower offer that is from a large business, they'll award the contract to the DVBE firm. So it's a great advantage to have that. This just kind of is a screenshot of the page where you start the application for certification for either small business or DVBE. You can see here that they're going to ask you for 3 years of tax returns, IRS verification of your tax identification number, some other information here, but it's pretty straightforward. And it's a much easier process than a lot less documents are required than the certifications that the SBA does. So now I want to just talk a little bit about, we've talked about set-asides, where the government is saying, we're going to set aside this opportunity and it's only for this socioeconomic group. As an example, it's only for veterans, or it's only for women. In California, back in, I believe it was 1998, they did away with allowing this, basically affirmative action programs with the state. So the state used to be able to say, we're going to set aside this contracting opportunity, so only minority businesses or only women-owned businesses can submit an offer. So they did away with that. But as a way to kind of work around that law, local government entities like counties and cities and towns, etc., have preferences. Typically, what the preferences means is that if you fall in one of these categories, so like the first one, a local preference. So if you're a local company, as long as your price is say you're competing against somebody and they're from a different county, they submit a lower price than yours. But if your price is within 5% of their price, then because you're local and they have a local preference, they'll award the contract to that local company. And the percentages vary, so it's not, sometimes it's 5%, sometimes it might be 7, so it's gonna vary, but they do have local preference. That's the most common one you'll see. With the city of Salinas, we did an outreach event with them several months ago, and their local preference basically includes Santa Cruz County, Monterey County, and San Benito County. So it's actually a 3-county area that surrounds the Salinas. Same thing for minority business enterprise or woman business enterprise. They have preferences for those. In some cases, they're going to require that you're certified as a minority business enterprise or woman business enterprise to take advantage of those preferences if they have them. And there are in the state of California, there's what's called the Supplier Clearinghouse that will certify minority business enterprises, women business enterprises, and also veteran and as you see this last one here, LGBTQ firms as well. So that's preference programs. So this one is a little bit different. It's a DBE certificate. DBE stands for Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Certification. Now, I just mentioned that with the state, if you're a woman-owned or minority-owned business, there's no set-asides. Well, this is actually a U.S. DOT program. So the United States Department of Transportation gives funds to all the states, so they require every state to have a DBE program. The way the DBE program works is that they require the various state departments of transportation, when they have projects, whoever the prime contractor is, they'll say, on this project, we've done the market research. We're going to assign a DBE goal on this project of 18% or 5% or 13%. Again, they'll have done their research. They'll look at the scope of work of the project and the location of it. They go through their database to see, who's probably realistically close by that would actually be able to do the work. And that's how they go about setting goals on their projects. It's important to know that not all projects have DBE goals, but quite a few of them, if not most of them, do have DBE goals. Again, in the case of this is that the Caltrans predominantly, and puts the onus on responsibility on the prime contractor to meet these goals. So when you think of highways, roads, railways, airports, that's where you see that these goals are applied. One thing that's really important is this next term that says commercially useful function. What that means is that the DBE firm has to provide a commercially useful function, meaning that they have to come out and perform the work. It can't be that, as an example, if I'm a DBE firm, that I go to a prime and say, hey, this project's got a goal. I'd like to go ahead and do that work. And they say, great. But then I turn around and sub all the work out to somebody else. And all I do is basically just process the invoices. That's considered what's called a pass-through. And then I would be not performing a commercially useful function on the project. Like I mentioned, not all projects will have a goal or a condition of award. So just keep that in mind. That a lot of times people think that every project has a DBE goal on it, and they don't. The way this program has evolved since way back in the 1980s is that, like I mentioned, it's more advantageous for basically subcontractors. The primes, again, there's a project. The primes are basically told you need to meet this DBE goal. So if you're a general contractor, it could be that maybe on one project you're the general contractor, but on another project where there's a DBE goal, there may be work that you self-perform that you can be a subcontractor to another prime. And it can still be advantageous. I've got a friend who averages probably between $5 and $10 for the last 10 years. He's a concrete company, and probably 80% of his work is because of his DBE status. It's rare that he's actually ever the prime contractor. And then when you are getting certified as a DBE firm, you want to include all the pertinent NAICS codes that you can perform. Again, it's a US DOT program. The predominant entity that uses it is Caltrans, but you'll also see other entities. I think it's in the next slide. If not, I'll mention them. But you have this unified certification program. Yeah, that's in another presentation I do. This UNCP, Unified Certification Program, basically what it is you get certified either through Caltrans or through this unified certification program. You can go through the BART system up in San Francisco, the city of Fresno, Los Angeles Metro. There's various entities that are part of this program. If, like as an example, like with BART, they receive funds directly from US DOT through the Federal Transit Authority. So it doesn't go through Caltrans. So but then because of its federal funds, they have to meet these DBE goals. So again, I mentioned subcontract, and I'm using this as an example, and it's construction. But even if you do like IT or other different kinds of services, oftentimes one of the shortest routes to finding success in the government marketplace is by being a subcontractor. By being a subcontractor, you can learn how the documentation flow works, what documentation requirements there are on the project, those types of things. Just to give you an idea, like these companies that you see here, these are all large construction contractors that you can be a subcontractor to, that again, they all have DBE goals that they need to meet. So they're on a regular basis looking for DBE firms. Our office gets sent information on projects where companies like this will be looking for DBE firms. So keep that in mind. One of the things, especially these large companies like this, they maintain their own databases. And so they would encourage you to go to their website, register your company in your database, and then also put if you're DBE certified or if you're veteran certified or anything like that. Oftentimes they'll ask you to complete what they call a subcontractor questionnaire, where you'll put in more information, and they vary about how much detail they'll ask you. But if you're in construction, you definitely want to do this. And it's not just them too. It's a lot of other companies. We were at a conference in Idaho a couple of weeks ago, and a very large defense contractor, Northrop Grumman, was there, and they definitely stressed, get your company in our database, so that makes it easy for us to find you, so that we can meet our goals. A little more on subcontracting. Caltrans, again, is where you can go get certified, as well as these other entities. But just to kind of give you an example, this is posted on their website, and you can see here it says this company, and it's probably hard for you to see, it's pretty small, but you'll be all getting copies of this presentation. You'll be able to see it, as well as I'm going to send you a link to the presentation. But you can see here it says this contractor, American Civil Contractors West, and it says services needed. And so this one is, obviously this is a state contract, but it says would like to encourage all disabled veteran business enterprises, small business companies who are classified to perform any of the scopes work relevant to this project to submit quotes. So basically they're promoting, here's our estimating department's website. We're looking for companies to subcontract some work to. So again, oftentimes when you're here on Caltrans website, you can see that this one doesn't show it, but on others it'll show it'll show the projects, and it'll show that this project has a 12% or 18 or whatever is DB goal on it. And then from there you can see oftentimes there's companies that'll post in there that contact us, we're looking for subcontractors. So now just a couple last few things here. So what does it take for success? Kind of just a summary of some of the things I've gone through here. But again, you want to register in government agency databases, and not only just government agencies, but like, as I mentioned, some of these large primes databases as well. And again, think about the supply chain, what it is you do. And a good example I like to give is like, if you're like an aircraft manufacturer, like Lockheed Martin, is that, yes, it's Lockheed Martin that has the contract with the federal government, but there's probably another 100 companies that are in that supply chain that make something that goes on that plane that then is finally sold to the government. And it could be that of those 100 companies, none of them will ever sell directly to the federal government, but their subcontracts may be worth tens, hundreds, millions of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars just as a subcontractor. So again, register with government agencies as well as large prime contractors. It's interesting. I mentioned the event we did with the city of Salinas. They have a database for construction companies, their public works department, but for everything else that they buy, they don't maintain a database. So, and it's going to vary, especially at the local level, whether they have a database or not. Have effective and professional marketing materials. So that goes with, your business cards, your email, website, printed materials. And make sure that you have business cards. One thing I'll tell you about an email too is to project a more professional image of your company and yourself. You don't want an email that says victorvaldez@gmail.com. You want it to say victorvaldez@abccompany.com. So you want to use a company address. Ideally, you have a website and your email matches your website, because again, it just projects a much more professional image about your business. Put a lot of thought in this next one, your value proposition. What's yours? That's what people want to buy. The fact that you might be certified or something like that is great, but what's your value proposition? If I buy a product or service from you, why is your product or service better than the competition that's out there? So give that some thought. Again, we can help you with that too. Adequate resources. This one's really important. We get approached by a lot of people say, hey, yeah, we want to get into government contract, but they're not willing to invest the time for someone to go out and do kind of market research, find out, who buys, what it is they sell, where they need to maybe get registered. Oftentimes, just on this people one, you may need to hire someone to come in and start doing some of that, or at least assign that to someone to say, okay, you're the one that's going to then take this on for our company to kind of learn the ropes, to work with Victor and his team to figure it out, to find the opportunities, and then start working on putting together proposals, those kinds of things. But typically, like I tell people, is that this is more of a marathon. It's not a sprint. It'll take a while if you're brand new to this to kind of figure out how it works, start submitting some offers or some quotes and not winning them. And then finally, in the process, you learn you finally start finding success in the marketplace. Make sure, again, with adequate resources, you have the equipment if you're construction, that you have bonding, line of credit, those types of things. This next one, be web savvy. Got that there because, again, sometimes the information that you're looking for, it just doesn't jump out at you. Again, sometimes what it is different entities use different terminology. So you just need to be web savvy of how to go out and poke around and find the information that you're looking for. This last one, accept government credit cards. Depending on what it is that you sell, one of the easiest ways to start selling to the government is through what's called like a micro purchase or a simplified acquisition. Micro purchase is typically something that is less than $25,000. And typically the way the government's going to buy something like that is they're going to do, like we all do, like a search on the internet for who's selling what it is that they want, go out and get at least 3 quotes, and then use a credit card and buy it from somebody who's got the lowest price. But if you don't, and that's what they do, they pay with a credit card. So if you're the kind of business that sells like products or services that are typically your average sale is less than $25,000, you definitely want to be credit card ready. So market intelligence, you've heard me kind of say this a few times. So again, supply chain, where do you fit? So again, with what it is that you sell, should you be selling directly to the government, or should you be selling someone else who has that contract? So make sure you understand that, so you don't waste a bunch of time. And again, with a lot of this stuff, when we talk to you, we can get a better understanding. We can say, okay, don't waste a bunch of your time going and get registered in sam.gov and this kind of stuff, because really, for you to sell to the government, you're going to be a subcontractor to somebody else. And this is how we can go ahead and help you out. So, and like this next one, who buys what you sell? So if you are like a subcontractor, you can go into usaspending.gov and do searches to see who are the companies that are selling directly to the federal government. You can identify them, and then that's who you need to be promoting yourself to kind of say, hey, I'd like to set up a time and meeting so that I can talk to you about product services that we can offer you, so that you can be more competitive in selling directly to your government customers. FPDS is another website too that's a little harder to navigate than USA Spending, but has good information on who's selling to the government. Oftentimes, like if you know your competitors that are there, and you should, you can put their information in USA Spending or FPDS.gov to see which agencies they might be selling to. So that's a good way to do that if you know the fact that they're selling directly to the federal government. Again, if they're a subcontractor to a prime, then you're not going to find that information. sam.gov is another way where you can find information on just researching it by your NAICS codes or keywords of which agencies are buying what it is that you sell. And the same thing with calprocure.gov, eProcure. You can basically go in there and see who buying what is your sell. Again, understand who your competitors are, and then go to some of these websites to see if they're even selling directly to the federal government or not, or the state government as well. And we can show you how to do that. We can do it at a federal and a state level, but we can't with, say, local governments. And then set-asides. We've mentioned them, the certifications you can get, woman-owned, veteran, etc. Again, you want to do your market intelligence before you go through a certification process to see if, in fact, the government is setting aside opportunities for something like a minority owned, a woman-owned business or veteran-owned business or 8A, because again, the government likes certain industries more so than others in order to hit the goals that they have. So if you see that the type of industry that you're in, they're not setting aside opportunities for you, then the likelihood of it happening in the future is pretty slim. So promotions. So you've gone out there, you see that the government's buying what it is you sell, you've done your homework. So you want to put together a capability statement, and we can help you with that. We do an entire presentation on capability statements, but a capability statement, again, is a document that was created to serve the federal community. So oftentimes when you do talk to either a federal outreach person or a buyer, same thing goes with a lot of these federal prime contractors. The first thing they'll ask you for is, hey, do you have your capability statement? And again, we can coach you on what they are, but basically, again, it's a one-page marketing piece that tells the reader, this is what we do, this is what we're really good at, this is why we're better than our competition. If we have any of these certifications, these are what they are. And here's some past customers that we've done business with. Outreach, website. So again, I can't stress it enough. You need a website. Ideally, what you want is you have a capability statement and it's strong enough that whoever sees it, they want to go to your website and learn more about your company. The website then, and one thing I tell people is if you don't have a website, if you don't have a capability statement, by developing either one of those helps you develop the other. Or if you have a website but don't have a capability statement, a lot of the information that you might have on the website, it becomes the content that you would put on a capability statement. Or likewise, if you don't have either, by going through the exercise of putting together a capability statement can then be the content of a nice simple website. Attend outreach events. So you see a lot of outreach events happening. There's a lot more virtual ones nowadays, but anything that you can attend in person or online, make your presence known when you go there. Go and talk to people, find out, do they buy what it is you sell? Who should they be talking to? Those types of things. Get in contact information. Professionalism, I put that there so that way, if you go to an outreach event, be professional, the way you dress, the way you talk to somebody. One thing that I can tell you, like if you try to, you might be able to identify who a contracting officer is by looking at opportunities, either past or present. They're really busy nowadays, and it's not uncommon that you'll try to email them and get a response from them and they don't get back to you. It's nothing personal, but if you've tried and then finally do get a hold of them, don't start chewing them out or anything like that, because that's not going to help your cause. Again, past performance is the most important thing that you can sell. That's what people want to know. It's not these certifications. And then work on your elevator speech. People want to, they're going to ask you, tell me about your business. What do you do? And make sure that it just kind of flows off your tongue, telling them exactly what it is that you do, very briefly. And never say, like, tell me what you buy and I can deliver it for you. I've seen that happen. We're almost done here. It says what not to do. A shotgun approach. So don't blast out an email to 100 different people thinking you're going to get a response. One thing that I mentioned, the Northrop Grumman presentation, if you send an email to like 100 people at Northrop Grumman, their spam filters will pick it up and basically they'll never even see it. So you want to send it more personalized, one person at a time. Again, not dedicating enough resources. I mentioned that you want to allocate someone and give them the time to make this a success. Poor or no website. think about that. Lack of preparation for outreach events. So I don't know how many events I've gone to, and people don't have business cards or anything. As a minimum, even have a business card. They showed up, they had 5 cards, and they ran out within the first 10 minutes that they were there. Ideally, you want to go to a outreach event with capability statements in hand, business cards, poor collateral material. So it kind of goes with that. One thing, if you have a good capability statement, and we can help you with that and send you samples of good ones, is that then you won't have poor collateral materials. You'll have developed a nice piece that you'll feel proud handing to somebody. Again, I mentioned unprofessional behavior. And this last one, again, promoting your socioeconomic status. This is just a huge turnoff for anybody who's in the contracting community. The fact that you're a woman-owned or veteran or whatever, I said, is great. But what they want to know is, what can you do to basically save me money? You give your elevator speech, and the last thing that comes out of your mouth in the elevator speech is the fact that, oh, by the way, I happen to be a woman-owned, certified woman-owned small business or certified veteran. But too often, the first thing that comes out of someone's mouth is, oh, I'm a woman-owned small business and I do this and that. And that's the wrong way to approach it. Key takeaways, and I'll be available for any questions you have here in a second. Watch for scams. And what I mean there is just, if you do register your company with the federal government and sam.gov, you'll start receiving emails from people making all kinds of promises or telling you that your registration is going to expire. That's big hassle to get it renewed and pay them money. Basically, they're all going to want money. So please don't do that. They make a lot of promises and they never deliver. If you can, and this is when I was talking about dedicating resources, develop a marketing plan specific to selling to the government. And that'll really kind of help you focus. And then, as I mentioned earlier, as far as it's a marathon, not a sprint, just have patience and time. Just kind of keep working it, and you'll get there. But in most cases, it's not going to happen overnight. Remember the importance of micro purchases and how that can help your business. And then again, don't forget about smaller government, town, city, county opportunities. Especially by these smaller opportunities can then help you with larger opportunities. If you're selling to the town and the city or your county, then it's easier to sell to the state. Once you're selling to the state, then it might be easier to sell to the federal government as well. Because again, everybody wants to know that, who have you done this for in the past? And again, I just concentrate on your resources, internally, your own team, and externally, people like us or any of these small business advocates with the state that I've mentioned. Lastly, these are some upcoming webinar topics. We're going to talk next week about the Defense Production Act, DPA Title III. And then this is probably a good one for a lot of us in the audience here today, is how to market to government agencies. Really go down just in the marketing aspect of selling to the government agency. So with that, I know we're running a little bit late, but if you have any questions, I believe you can put them in either in the chat or the Q&A. And you can see our contact information there. Just reach out to us and we can answer any questions just one-on-one with you as well. As I mentioned earlier, you'll receive all these slides and then also a link where you can hear this recording again. Well, I'm thinking I did a great job because I'm not seeing any questions coming up. But again, just reach out to us. We're here to help you with anything that you need. A lot of the things I covered, maybe things you already know, which is great. And then we can. I don't even know. Shoot. Oops. Yeah. Seemed like there was a question there, but I don't see it. Oh, here it is. Okay. Uh, I apologize. It says Albert was raised his hand. If you just type your question into the chat, I can answer it for you. Because I have everybody muted. Again, Alberto, if you have a question, I need you to type it in. There we go. Okay, so then type it in the Q&A, Albert, because I see your question there, your comment. You write that down. I don't know how to do that. Well, just get a hold of us, Albert. We can answer your question. So with that, thank you very much for attending today. Oh, so Albert asked, will the presentation be available to watch again so I can review? And the answer is yes. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to send you a link so you can see the recording. So Holiday asks, how can I get copies of the capability statement you mentioned? With that, you need to sign up with us as a client, and then we can uh, start working with you on your capability statements, send you samples, etc. Basically, what we'll do too is send you some samples, have you put together a draft, have you send us your draft, and then give you feedback on your draft so we can help, improve it if it needs it. If you go to our website here, MontereyBayApex.org, on the upper right-hand corner, you can see where it says sign up for services, I believe it says, and then you can become a register with us to receive our services. Okay, with that, thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.